probably shouldn't say this, but sometimes you gotta let them know who you are. Sometimes that might mean you, in the midst of the conversation where you feel like things get a little sticky, you might need to bring up the fact that you got the blicky in the bag. I don't know. Between you and the Lord. I don't know. Just saying. What's up, you guys? Okay, I wanted to get on here really quick to talk to you guys about something that just happened to one of my sweet renters. She was telling me that she had a client run out on her. And so as I'm going through the process of explaining to her like why this might be happening, it came to me that I should probably do a video on it, okay? So I'm gonna be quick, straight to the point, and give you the real, all right? So what I was telling her was, well, when she told me she had this chargeback, I had to ask a couple questions like, okay, well, what happened? Did they leave a deposit? What were they getting the service for? All of those things. She told me that they were getting their hair braided. They said that they had to run out for an emergency, and they were texting her and telling her about the emergency and all this stuff. And she's telling the client basically like, yeah, I understand all that, but are you gonna pay me? Yada, 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 right? So this got me to thinking, because I had to go back. A lot of times when I'm doing hair now and I'm giving people advice and things like that, I have to go back into my memory banks to figure out like what used to happen to me and why it doesn't happen to me no more. And so one of the first things that I did in order to eliminate a lot of people running out on me or doing chargebacks, I believe it's absolutely the clientele that I attract. And I think the way that I attract the clientele is word of mouth, but I also think that it is your social media presence, your online platforms, your website, your verbiage, things like that. It can get really, really meticulous, really, really, intricate of how I communicate with my clients without talking to them first, which would be online, which would be my social media and all that stuff. But aside from that, let's just say that you can't change that overnight, right? One thing that you can change overnight is how you accept payments. I no longer accept Cash App, and it's not up for discussion. I just don't. The only form of payment that I accept is credit card and cash, and that's it. But it made me think about a recent scenario that I had with a client who was getting a sew-in. She's a new client. I'm not gonna give you all of her background because I do think it's important to the story, but I'm gonna leave it out just for speed. Basically, we got to the point in the sewing service where the only thing that I had to do was put the net on and then sew the actual bundles into her hair. I had already did like the shampoo, blow dry, treatment, trim, braid down, everything, and I get to the point where I gotta put the net on, and lo and behold, I realized I ain't got no net. So I'm panicking. And I was like, okay, well, what can I do, as a professional in this moment to just, help the situation go over smoothly? So I just decided, I just gotta be honest with her. So I said, hey, look, I don't have a net, and I can either go get a net, or I can just continue to braid your hair down, sew your hair onto, do the sewing without the net. And so I explained to her like, look, I'm very good at doing a braid down. I can do it to where you don't even need a net, if we're being honest, but I do understand if you want one because it is included into the service. It is a part of my whole thing, blah, 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 blah. She's like, no, I really want a net and all of this. And I'm like, okay, cool. So then I even offered to her, I said, hey, look, I'll even take a couple dollars off just because I don't have a net, which again is not even something that I don't usually do any of this. This never really happens, but every now and then it just happens. You run out of product, something happen, and you gotta have this conversation. But I was just trying to appease her because of other things that had gone on in the service. I'm not gonna get into it. So she's like, no, I need a net, whatever. So I'm like, okay, look, I'll go get the net. It's right around the corner, probably 10 minutes away to the beauty supply store. Run there, run back. I'll be right back. We'll finish your hair. But I said, before I leave, I will need full payment. And that's when she was like, oh no, I'm not gonna pay you. And I said, well, you have to, or I'm not gonna go get the net. And she's, disagreeing, arguing, and all of this. And I try to explain to her, unfortunately, you are a new client. This is our first service. And it's not like the service was going that great. You know what I mean? She's a very anxious, high-strung personality type. It's not like it was just going smoothly. And even if it was going smoothly, maybe if it was going smoothly, I might not have said that. But since it wasn't, and you're a new client, I'm not getting the warm and fuzzies. I'm gonna need you to pay before I leave this building. And she's not with it. So I said, look, we go back and forth, to which then I was like, no. I just told her the truth. Either you're gonna pay me right now, or I'm not gonna go get the net. And so you do have two options. Well, you actually have three. After arguing for 10 minutes, I said, the next option is I could just take all your hair down right now, and then we could just, you don't have to go on with the sewing. I completely understand. So she's like, well, I guess I don't have any choice. No, you have a choice. You got 3 of them. I just gave you 3. She didn't agree. She didn't want to do it. But we eventually just ended up continuing with the service without a net. And so that whole situation is how you eliminate somebody playing with you in your time. That's how you eliminate that. You draw a line in the sand, and it is what it is, and there's no negotiating on that. Now that I think about it, maybe the only time, again, that I've been willing to kind of bend the rules for payment and things like that is a long-time client asked, hey, can I just Zelle you? She's a long-time client. I trust her. Cool. But understand that when you're doing that, regardless of who it is, why they're doing it, you are taking a risk with your money and your time and your career and your goals and your food that you feed yourself. And if you got kids, food that you feed them. I was explaining to the girl who rents the suite who had this issue with the client who ran out on her. I said, you got to get real serious about your business. Like when I was really in grind mode, I would say I'm not really in grind mode like that no more. I could say that for sure. But a couple years ago when I was in the depths of grind mode, I took it so serious that I felt like when people negotiated with me on my prices, when they ran out, when they did chargeback, you was taking money out of my daughter's mouth. That's how serious I took it. So when you take it that serious, you take yourself serious, you take them serious, you take everybody's time serious so that you don't have them issues. So draw the line in the sand and be serious about your business on all levels so you don't run into that. No, I'm sorry, you cannot cash me for a deposit. People ask. No, I'm gonna send you this here invoice. It'll come right. What was your email? What was your phone number? Let me send it to you right now. And then you got it. And then as soon as you pay for that appointment, then we have a solidified appointment. I even take it a step further by saying, I'm gonna send you the invoice. Pay it whenever you like. Just know that if you do not pay within the next 24 hours, then the appointment is absolutely canceled. Normally, I won't even go about the business of making them the appointment, but I do recognize that in those instances, when I have already booked their appointment, and I'm now sending you an invoice to pay for the deposit after I booked, then that puts them in a position to feel like they don't have to pay for the deposit. So I make it clear to them that it will automatically cancel your appointment if you do not pay within 24 hours or at the end of the day. Whatever you make up is not true. I'm gonna go in there and manually cancel it if you don't pay. But just that's something that makes them feel like, hey, this isn't personal, just letting you know that this is how I operate my business. So her dilemma, I don't know if I already said it, but her dilemma was somebody leaving, saying they had an emergency situation and whatever. And that's like, I get it. Sometimes there are those circumstances where it's just craziness, but those circumstances don't happen to me like that anymore. Because my clients just are not like that. And if I'm being honest, I kind of feel, I can't be sure because I pray to God I don't have none no time soon. But I can't be sure, but if something like that were to happen, I can almost guarantee you that my clients would have tried to solidify their appointment before they left. And now that I'm thinking about it, maybe 2 years ago, one of my clients that was coming to me regularly, her son texted her in school saying, something about a shooter drill that they had going on and that he was afraid and she had to get up out of there. This was actually before we even started the service though, and I think she already paid her deposit or something like that. Before we got into it, she was like, I don't know what to do. Should I leave or should I go? I was like, girl, go see what's going on with your son. We can reschedule. It's not a big deal. And so she was more so concerned, like, yo, how do you want to go about the rebooking? I'm like, girl, please. You know what I mean? Some things just make sense. But also that client has been coming to me over and over and over again. Their whole family comes to me. Like, it's a difference between that and a new client that I don't know. I don't know what else to tell you. You a new client, you don't owe me no loyalty. I don't owe you no loyalty. I owe you nothing. You paid your deposit. We're in agreement. We're going through with the service, and then you need to leave. Well, if you got partial of your head done, you as the stylist have to just be like, okay, I'm so sorry to hear that. Okay, you got to be just as dramatic as they are. I hate to say it. It sounds terrible, but I have been in them circumstances where you got to play mental gymnastics, okay? They in a rush and everything is frantic. You in a rush with them, yes. And so here, girl, just let me pay. Just pay right quick so you'll be good. That way, when you come back, you don't even got to worry about paying. That way, it could be one less thing that you're worrying about with all this going on. You got to meet them right where they at. Because being a black hairstylist, I swear, is an Olympic sport. People will try to play with you and they will try to play with your time. And I'm not saying that all other races do not have this problem, because I have friends of different demographics who do different type of hair, and they run into issues with their clients too. So it's not a race thing. I can only speak from it because this is the hair that I do and have been doing for a long time. And I have worked in other salons doing different types of hair and working with different types of people. And so I do know that other people do like to play around with prices too. It's not necessarily a race thing. It is a people thing, but when it comes to us, just know, do not be playing with them people when it comes to your dollars and cents. Be very serious about it. When it comes to the payment, that should be a smooth transaction. But that's the onus is really on you as a hairstylist to make that a smooth process. So don't make it to where there's too much middle ground. Okay, so my phone died, but basically all I was saying was don't make it to where there's so much middle ground. There's so much middle ground to where you leave room for someone not paying you, someone to kind of second guess someone to second guess whether or not they want to pay you, or someone to second guess whether or not they even want the service. So I could think of a lot of things when it comes to that, but also something that came to mind when I was thinking about when my phone died was chargebacks, stuff like that. It only took me to get a chargeback, I think 1, maybe 2 times, and it was real low. It was like $30 or something like that. I lost the chargeback. I said, oh no, we're gonna learn from this. You won't be getting another one. So I have not lost one since. I even been to court, didn't lose that. I'm talking about from $50 to $1,000. Haven't lost one since. So not let these people play with you and your time and your profession. You are the professional, and that's how you really have to see yourself in these situations. I don't really care if you're at home doing hair at the house, you doing it in somebody's garage. I mean, you know, honestly, I have my whole opinions about stuff like that, but that's honestly why I don't work at home and stuff like that. I don't got time to play. But especially if it don't even matter the reason. Just know that do not allow people to play with you or your time. This is your profession. Try to present yourself as more of a professional who takes themselves seriously. That doesn't even mean like going in on your policies. I could do a whole video about that too. It's really about how you communicate certain things. It's the language that you use. A lot of my policies are not necessarily written in the normal format before you book with me, but there are certain things that you can put in place that let somebody know, like, make sure you read this before you pay, because you're not gonna get it back. This is non-refundable, non-transferable, things like that. Now, am I willing to work with people who have made a deposit and certain things come up? Yes, but does it happen? Almost never happens. I never have those issues anymore because my clientele doesn't do that. Even the new clients, they don't do that. So I just wanted to make a video about that because when she came to me with this issue, I'm like, oh my God, I remember when that used to happen to me all the time. By the way, short story, and then I'm done because I gotta go get my daughter. Clients are don't try to put yourself in the mentality of these clients and these people, because people do a lot of crazy stuff for survival, for just because they can, just because some people are evil. They just do a lot of stuff. I had a friend who was a hairstylist, and she would have this issue where people would run out on her, or they wouldn't pay full price, or they wanted to negotiate at the end. She just had a lot of issues going on with that payment. And so one time she was telling me that, you know, she had a client who ran out on her. Hey girl, I gotta go to my car, do XYZ, never came back. Hair was pretty much done, or hair was done and they didn't pay. This kept happening to her. And I was like, you realize that somebody is doing this to you, recognizing that they can get away with it, and then they telling their homegirls, and their homegirls coming back, and then they telling the other, it didn't take me long enough to pick up on the fact that I know that they all know each other, and they're telling each other, or they're friends or they're not friends. But word is traveling that you are the girl who won't do nothing if somebody runs out on you. Sure enough, months later, she found out some of them girls was friends. I know. I'll even take it to a step further. It's my last step, I promise. I probably shouldn't say this, but sometimes you gotta let them know who you are. Sometimes that might mean you, in the midst of the conversation where you feel like things get a little sticky, you might need to bring up the fact that you got the blicky in the bag. I don't know. It's between you and the Lord. I don't know, just saying. Sometimes you need to bring up the fact that you're not the one. You need to bring that up in conversation. I'm sorry. I'm just saying. I'm just telling you what I know will help you. I done been there. And so then when you get a different type of clientele, and it's not necessarily that, where you might not have to tell them like you got a taser. You might also just get clients who are, you know, corporate girls, or I don't know, they're just used to doing this negotiation thing, and you just have to draw the line in the sand. Now that it's coming to me, I think that same client that I had the issue with was like, I had offered her the discount, offered her all these things. The service was absolutely wild. One day when I have enough built up energy, I'll tell you guys about the whole service. But when it came time to pay, it was so bad I didn't even want to take this lady payment. That's how crazy it was. But we go through with the payment. And just before she paid, she's like, hey, she asked me a question about the price. Let's just say the price was $150. I can't remember how much it was. Let's just say the price was $150. And before she pays, she goes, was it $150? Because I thought you da-da-da-da. I don't know what that lady said after that. I just looked her right in her eyes and said, it's going to be $150. And she said, okay. Yeah. Stop letting these people play with you. Y'all have a blessed one.